La dinámica entre ambos países está favorecida en alguna medida por una acción mutua de cooperación que se plasmó a través de un memorándum de entendimiento del que fue parte el INTA, la Universidad de Pretoria. El profesor Kirsten nos comenta que los cambios deben contemplar aspectos profundos del país, como la reforma agraria y la seguridad alimentaria.
There are many risks to the agricultural system from a political and other perspective, political and climatic perspective, that can influence food security in the country. So the big topic nowadays in South Africa is land reform, and how we implement land reform, and how do we facilitate the transfer of ownership from white farmers to black farmers without disturbing the productive potential of agriculture. Because if you have a drop in production as a result of the transfer, as the start-up phase of a new farmer emerges, you will find that food production could be compromised, and then you're dependent on the world economy and the world markets, which is very volatile, and also our exchange rate is volatile. And the exchange rate depreciates consistently, and that leads to higher import prices, which then has a direct impact on our consumers. So the sensitivity about land reform is how do you manage it to provide consistent food security to our people.
Nos pudimos dar el gusto del contacto prudente con animales que formaron parte de nuestras eternas fantasías. Un entorno de respeto acerca prudentemente a estos tremendos seres que son cuidados y cada vez más protegidos. Desde la Cámara de Comercio de Port Elizabeth nos describen con algunas pinceladas a este maravilloso país y el reto que significó entrar en el siglo XXI.
I think if you had to ask first and foremost about the people and the hospitality of the people, I would say this city, Port Elizabeth, if you had to ask any visitor that's been here before as a tourist, they will tell you that this is the friendly city. So the folk that live here along the coast and in the port city environment are very friendly and hospitable and welcoming of foreign tourists and investors to our area. If you had to look at the investment environment specifically for a business investor into the area, the environment is conducive to investment. We have two ports right here, one in the city centre, which is our old port, and it's still very operational today, mainly with the export of motor vehicles, and also importing the needs of the city through that port. And then we have an industrial development zone about 25 kilometers outside of the city, and that is a massive infrastructure spend by government. Probably about 10 billion rand has been invested there over the last 10 years and more. There are parts distribution centres for the whole of Africa inside the industrial development zone. We have specialist fruit manufacturing or processing plants that are exporting all around the world. We have a company that's producing the towers for wind turbines for renewable energy. We have others producing solar panels for solar energy. And we now just recently, it will be launched in October, is a gas-fired power station, so that that area will never be without power if there is a concern at all that there will be a lack of power in the industrial development zone. That turbine will actually serve all the clients in the zone. And there's future projects that are planned for the area which are also very, very exciting. So I'm very encouraged that we have an industrial development zone that has state-of-the-art infrastructure, water supply, electricity, roads, and access to the port. And government is creating more incentives now that are conducive for investors.
Sudáfrica puede ser para nuestro país una gran oportunidad que hay que aprovechar con inteligencia. Atrás de ese país se encuentra el Oriente y un mercado inconmensurable.
What we have with the port of Kucha, as I explained earlier, we have a massive deep water port there, and the way the government agency Transnet, who is responsible for the ports in the country and the running thereof, have positioned this port as what they call a transshipment hub. So you could have your container ships coming in from Buenos Aires or from Uruguay, the large Panamax ships that you're aware of that carry these massive container loads. They can come into the port of Kucha here because we are a deep water port. They could offload their cargo that could be destined for Asia or even more so the African continent. And from the port of Kucha, smaller ships which can access the smaller ports along the east and west coast of Africa will upload those containers and transship them into the ports of West and East Africa. For example, your Kenya and Tanzania on the east coast, or maybe even as far as Nigeria on the west coast. Then from there, we are also importing from China, goods from China. When those ships come through, obviously then containers could be transferred across to those ships and returned to China, India, Asia, other parts of the world from here. So we are a very strong node for access into the African markets and onward to the Asian markets.